So I want to tell you, if you're thinking like, oh, I could use some good entertainment, I'm going to go through and I'm going to share the authors that I buy the most. I'm going to share the comedians that I think you guys should be watching their shows. Tell me that I'm valuable and don't let me spiral into an existential crisis. Greetings, it's your girl Kelsey, rom-com author, podcaster, YouTuber, vlogger, oversharer, bestie on the internet, and I cannot find my microphone. So this is what we're doing today. I'm holding this little lapel thing in my hand like a real winner. Short and sweet episode today, but also hopefully really helpful. I had someone comment, and like you get a lot of comments, right, if you put yourself out there. And you know, I don't read all of them for sure, but I just found this one, and what bothered me about it, or like why I read it and like thought about it, was because it sounds like this person had been following me for a long time. And then after last week's episode, they were like, this is it. I'm breaking up with you. Goodbye. So I do want to apologize because I think last week when I was talking about the labels that we give ourselves, it sounded like I was saying, you know, if you've been diagnosed with ADHD, you're a bad mom, is basically where this person went. And I hope I can clarify that we all put labels on ourselves, and we have legitimate labels and illegitimate labels. And my point was, you can either use the label as a crutch to hold yourself back, or you can overcome those labels, shed them, reject them if possible. Obviously, there's medical stuff, guys. Obviously, people are diagnosed with real conditions. Like I said that in the episode. But I don't want you to hear if you have ADHD and you struggle with, you know, commitments and staying organized and being on top of things, that you are then flaky and a bad mom. What I'm saying is, we don't have to let the label become our entire identity. And you're a great mom. Listen to me. Is everybody alive? Is anybody dead? Right? You're a great mom. You're hitting the must-haves. This week, guys, I get an email from a teacher every week. And it's really discouraging because it's like, how much do I have to stay on top of all of these things? I mean, obviously the little ones, you know, they're 4 years old and 5 years old. They're not staying on top of their projects. But also, why are you sending home projects with a 4-year-old? So I get it. I get not being on top of it and feeling like a failure. And I have to remind myself, and now I am reminding you, that the main things are the main things, and you're doing them. Okay? You're doing them. Your kids are loved, safe, clothed, fed. All right? So I'm sorry if I seemed callous or insensitive last week. This week, I'm still carrying on with that comment, which is that she said, or he, I don't know, the profile image was like an illustration of a cat or something, which I feel like speaks volumes. This person said, no one doing anything worthwhile is reading for leisure. And I mean, obviously they were just trying to give me a big fat middle finger, because that's my life's work right now, entertainment and books for leisure. Like, that's what I do. And so they wanted to make me feel bad. And I guess they kind of succeeded. But I want, like, leave a comment right now or message me on Instagram. You know, is no one reading for fun anymore? I mean, book talk itself begs to differ. But the point she was saying, or he, you know, no one doing anything worthwhile is reading for leisure. It really reminded me of me. Remember how I was a judgy bee back in Kelsey 1.0 here on YouTube? And there was a lot of like, you know, hustle and go and create and make and do. And again, people who are at the top of their game, who are talking now about like rest and balance and like self-care, la, 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 they're already millionaires because they did their hustle period. They went through their hustle era. Okay, so I feel like everybody goes through that to get to where they want to go. Even in a micro level, you have to go through the hustle to get, you know, to lose the weight or get out of debt or, you know, run the marathon or whatever. But that Kelsey has issues. And I still sometimes feel like, what am I doing with my life? Like, what's the point of writing little rom-coms? What's the point of just making comedy videos? You know, and especially if you're a Christian, sometimes it's like, well, what about the kingdom perspective? Like, forget it all. Let's sell everything we own and our entire family will just stand on the street corner and preach the gospel. Well, that's not practical. And not everyone has stand on the corner and talk about which day the rapture's coming types of gifts. So I guess what I want you to comment is like, agree or disagree. Do we agree that like the movers and shakers of the world just simply don't do things for leisure? Because I also want to add on to that it's a slippery slope. Like, I'm sure the person who commented would argue that, Lord of the Rings or Catcher in the Rye are like great literature, right? And like epic stories like Star Wars, things that everybody has seen and enjoyed and loves. Like, those things are leisure. Those things are entertainment. Are we saying none of those should exist? Like, none of that should exist? If we didn't have leisure, if we didn't have fun, and we didn't ever do anything for fun, we would all just be robots, right? Must have more output, must be more productive, right? Isn't that how we would all be? As you know, I've got a whole Louis Vuitton set of issues and baggage and deep stuff that I like to take out on the internet and share with my friends through my podcast and my YouTube channel. And one of those things is I do come from a set of parents, as we've talked about, and it is gross to still blame everything on your parents. So that's not what I'm doing, but it kind of is what I'm doing. Hey mom, shout out. My parents are very like utilitarian. Is that the right word? Like, my father is a pastor, but he was the kind of pastor that's like administrative and goal oriented. He wasn't the care pastor. He was a teacher on stage, but he was more like, we've got to grow. He was one of the pioneers for mega churches and church planning and church splitting off into multiple locations, because he was all about growth, numbers, achievement. The man has 5 degrees, Dr. Owen Weston. You can look him up. He is very impressive. I'm so proud of him. And then there's my mom, who is a nurse. Let's add value. Let's be productive. Let's, contribute. Let's heal and work. And she's the kind of person that, like, if she sees something, she's about to sit down, but she sees something that needs doing, Lynette's not sitting down. She's going to go do the thing that needs doing before she sits. Whereas I'm like, I'll get to it later. No. My parents are lovely. I'm very close with them. Yesterday, I talked to my mother for 45 minutes, not even like a text thread, like an actual phone call. And so we're very close and I love them very much. But I will never, ever, ever forget when I told my mom that we were moving to Los Angeles so that I could pursue comedy. She was like, but you're not going to be like a comedian though, are you? Like the just blatant disgust. And I know I've talked about this before, but I'm just like talking to you guys kind of where I'm coming from this week on, should we all just be reading nonfiction and listening to educational podcasts to better ourselves and better humanity and better the world? Obviously, logically, I can step back and say, no, we have to rest. We have to take breaks. We have to have some unplugging time. And if you follow that, if we take that logic to its end, we're saying creativity has no value. What about music? Music is leisure. Music is entertainment, right? Also, I'm recovering from my judgmentalism. But if I were to put my judgy hat back on, after Taylor Swift came out with her new album, there were people on threads that were like, I have dissected Taylor's new album in a 7-page essay that you may read on my Substack. And I'm thinking to myself, what if you use those powers for good? Like people who get so into reality TV or Taylor Swift's lyrics or the latest drama between 2 artists or 2 influencers, that kind of thing. On the one hand, I'm like, guys, like, what are we doing with our time? But then on the other hand, I'm like, let people live, let people have their 7-page Taylor Swift essays, because life is hard, as we continue to talk about on this podcast every single week. Oh man. What do you guys think? Like, where do we fall on this spectrum? Like, is there a line? Is there a line of like, hey honey, maybe get off the Taylor Swift, Reddit board and like go clean your closet? I don't know where the line is, and we moved the line too far and I have no job. The whole point of today's episode is obviously, I believe in the power of creativity and taking a break and listening to great music and reading moving poetry and watching funny videos and listening to hilarious podcasts from your oversharing internet bestie. And obviously, reading fiction. My entire life changed, as I told you guys already, I think in episode 1 of the show. I sat and did nothing but read fiction for like 2+ weeks. And I mean binge reading like 24/7. And it unlocked all the creativity that had been totally burnt out in me. It totally changed my entire life. It changed my family's life. It changed my income. It changed my business model. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. And so how can someone say that that's not valuable, right? Okay, so the point of today's episode is I want to tell you my favorites. So I want to tell you, if you're thinking like, oh, I could use some good entertainment, I'm going to go through and I'm going to share the authors that I buy the most. I'm going to share the comedians that I think you guys should be watching their shows on YouTube. So here's the thing with comedy right now is that it's all split up. It used to be if you had Netflix, you could watch all the best comedians. Well, a lot of the comedians are moving to Hulu. Then there's a bunch that are on Amazon Prime, and I'm sure eventually Disney will get in on that action as well. And so I'm going to share some full comedy specials that are on YouTube where you don't need to log in or do anything. You can just go watch them. My standard for buying books is if it was a 5-star read that really stuck with me, really shook me, really, gripped me. And also if it made me laugh out loud. And I'm also going to share my favorite people to follow. I'm going to put all those things here on the screen and in the audio. And then I will also link to, if you want to download all the links in one place, I'll put them together for you. But before I dive in to those wonderful things that I think you will all enjoy in different genres and varying levels of explicitness or spice or whatever, I want to remind you that I have an event coming up in Oklahoma City, November 20th. Thursday is my Dallas event, November 13th. However, the bookstore told me they were sold out. And I'm not sure if that means they literally have no space or if that means they're out of books. Because when you buy a ticket, you get a signed special edition. So I'm not sure. But Dallas, they told me they're sold out, which we sold out. Next week, you could see me in Oklahoma City. I would love to meet you in person. That's at LoveStories OKC, November 20th. If you have not read Happy Christmas yet, now is the time. I have a few special editions left on my website that you can order directly from me that I package up here in this room with like fun wrapping paper and little extra doodad swag goodie bag stuff that you get from me. I have a few of those left. You can get Happy Christmas paperback on Amazon. You can get Happy Christmas audiobook on Audible, and you can get Happy Christmas Kindle in Kindle Unlimited. So any way you want to do it, I encourage you. Thanksgiving break is coming up. You're going to want something to read. Let it be Happy Christmas. Appreciate you guys so much, all your support here on this channel. If you're listening on iTunes, don't forget to follow and leave a review. And if you are here on YouTube, remember I'm trying to post 3 videos a week. Sometimes with shorts, that's more like 5 videos a week. So I hope you will come back, like, subscribe. Now let's get into all my favorite things.
First up, my girl Leanne Morgan. She has one full special on YouTube, I think, from Dry Bar Comedy. So relatable, squeaky clean, but so funny. Probably the hardest I've ever laughed when I went and saw her live. And I've met her in person. She is lovely. Next up, John Christ. He has a couple full specials on YouTube. He is clean, a lot of church jokes, but again, makes me consistently laugh out loud. I've never seen him live though, but I thought he did really well on some of his YouTube specials, just really well written. Trey Kennedy is one of those people that I'm very jealous of their career. I've told you all before because he started with his online jokes and now he gets to sing on stage. His special Grow Up is so great and you can watch the full thing on YouTube. That is a clean comedian. Okay, next up, Sebastian Maniscalco is my favorite comedian and is the funniest person on the planet, in my opinion. But he's not clean. He drops some F-bombs, and so keep that in mind. If you don't want any cussing at all, don't watch his. He has a few on YouTube. Angela Johnson Reyes, another friend of mine I've met in person and is absolutely lovely, and she has a few specials, and they are clean, no cussing, safe for work content. Okay, another one of my ultimate favorites is Kevin Hart. I really love it when the comedian is kind of unhinged. Kevin Hart is unhinged. He is a lot and he makes me laugh so hard, but he is vulgar. There's cussing and sex and is just like not safe for work at all. But he has a few specials that you can watch. And Chris D'Elia, I don't even know how to say his last name, but he makes me laugh so hard too. Again, totally unhinged, not clean, not safe for work, but like him and Kevin Hart are just like so like just like angry, like George Costanza energy. I just love it, and it makes me laugh really hard. Last one, everyone's probably heard of him by now, but Nate Bargatze has he only has one short special on YouTube, unfortunately, and he is worth going to find if you have Prime or Netflix. I think he has specials on both, but he's just easy to watch, very clean, smart, funny, but not unhinged, much more chill. Okay, next up, go find your favorite Saturday Night Live sketches from whichever decade you prefer and rewatch them on YouTube because they are hysterical and you will laugh so much. Go find the old ones, Will Ferrell, Chris Farley, the comedy gold on YouTube. And then we rewatch a bunch of funny series over and over again. You have to go hunting to find where they are. So sometimes, they're on Netflix or Hulu or whatever, but we rewatch Seinfeld and The Office and Parks and Recreation. And like once we finish one, we'll just bounce around to the next one and cycle through again. We love Brooklyn Nine-Nine. We've watched that many times. We love How I Met Your Mother, although I think we only watched that through twice. It's not as much of one of our favorites. Modern Family, one of my all-time favorites. Frasier, probably the smartest comedy that's ever been written. If you're a writer, you should watch the show and study it. Friends is a classic, though not on par with the other ones in this list, in my opinion. And Gilmore Girls is a great study in banter, though it's not like my husband's favorite. All right, the next few are actually not funny, but I find myself escaping into them and I find them comforting. So Friday Night Lights is one of those that we've watched many times because we just love the characters. And The West Wing might be my favorite show of all time. And I mean, I would never have chosen a political show, like a dramedy, like a 9 p.m. Thursday night in the 90s. And like some of it is so cringe now. Like they say things that you could never get away with today. But I love, love, love the characters on The West Wing. Now, my husband loves to watch House. He'll watch it over and over and over again. But I get a little burnt out because House, the character, you're rooting for him the whole time and he doesn't quite like redeem himself, but it is a fascinating, interesting show with great characters. So that's another one we have watched many times. And then another one that is just like amazing television that I recommend everybody watch at least once is Band of Brothers. Now, this is not comedy, right? I mean, it's World War II. It is hard to watch. It is uplifting and inspiring. And at the end, you will like weep like a baby. But I mean, it's just some of the most amazing television ever made. And I think every American citizen should watch it at least once all the way through. Now let's get into the epics. And maybe you're not a sci-fi person, but the thing about epics is the story is so big and there's so many characters you just get lost. I'm talking Star Trek, Star Wars, Battlestar Galactica, The Avengers. If you get an Avengers kick with your kids, you can go for weeks, like Friday nights for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks because there's so many of them. And like you just fall in love with these characters and you enjoy like the crazy antics. And The Avengers has a lot of comedy too. Now, Lord of the Rings, classic, again, very many movies. And then you can watch The Hobbit. And it's just obviously, it's the greatest. And there's so much great stuff there. And the books for that one, of course. Harry Potter, another one. There's so many movies and you love the characters. And then there's the Fantastic Beasts series spinoff from that. Can't mention Epic Stories without Back to the Future. The Maze Runner was like a little bit meh, but it is one of those that I am like fascinated with dystopian stuff. Divergent was another one that was like, okay. Pirates of the Caribbean, another one with so many stories that you could just watch and go all the way through all of their epic tales. So many, like just great acting. And then if maybe like sci-fi and fantasy is not your jam, try The Bourne Identity. We've watched that one, I don't know, a million times. Same with The Matrix, we've watched a million times. Like just kind of mind-bending. If it's mind bending, guess what you're not thinking about? Yourself and your problems and your worries. And then a last sci-fi one that I thought of was Jurassic Park, Jurassic World. Again, there's a lot of them, very engaging. Okay, getting into books, a little bit harder. Call me basic if you want, but obviously The Hunger Games and ACOTAR and Twilight. And I was surprised, but Flock. Really, I really loved it. By the end of book 3, I loved that series, and I was not expecting to. And you know, I would maybe even put 50 Shades on this list just because I loved it so much when it came out a million years ago. Notice Fourth Wing is not on here because it lost me. I loved book 1, and then book 2, she introduced like 1 million characters and totally lost me. And I don't know if I'm going to pick it back up until maybe when the whole series is finished. Okay, now I have to go into favorite authors instead of series. Non-romance, I've read a lot of Blake Crouch, love his stuff. I have read a lot of C.S. Lewis, obviously, one of the GOATs. And then Andy Weir is another sci-fi that I've read a lot of his books and enjoyed them. Now we'll get into my rom-coms in order of least spicy to spicier. Emily Henry, Abby Jimenez, Ali Hazelwood. I have bought almost all of their books, I think. Same thing with Christina Lauren. And Elizabeth O'Rourke is like, don't sleep on Elizabeth O'Rourke, however you say that. She's got a lot of books out and I love all of them. Sarah J. Maas, I have not read Throne of Glass yet, but I did enjoy Crescent City. But Throne of Glass is very intimidating. I'm sure I will love it. Mariana Zapata is the queen of slow burns, and I love each one. Rosa Lucas, I don't even know how I found her, but she writes bangers. Lucy Score and Nicole Snow are not always hitting out of the park, but most of the time. Spiciest would be Megan Quinn, Rom-Coms, and then LJ Shen, JT Geisinger, Lori Kent, Neva Altaj, I think is how you say it, and St. Abby, which I think is actually a pen name that's supposed to spell out stabby. Those are like crime, mafia, like darker, grittier, and spicier, but I kind of like the crime, like suspense part of it. So that was kind of like a bookshelf tour because a lot of my most popular authors are on my bookshelves that I buy the most, but I will take an actual bookshelf tour for you guys with all my little tchotchkes and stuff after I set it back up because I kind of destroyed it whenever I put a million Happy Christmases behind me. So this is an old picture on here, but I just wanted to finish up by saying I hope for yourself and your mental health this week you will consider some total escapism like rewatching The Matrix, or something that will just make you laugh really, really hard, like Sebastian Maniscalco. And I would love to know in the comments what your favorites are. What do you rewatch over and over? You know, who are your absolute favorites? You know, let's all just comment the best of the best, and then we can go watch each other's favorites.
All right, hopefully this added a lot of value. And I said that on purpose because entertainment has value, okay? Tell me that I'm valuable and don't let me spiral into an existential crisis about how my entire life's work is like comedy and little jokey jokes. Okay? Okay. And if you are out in the wild and you see someone with one of my books open, and if you are out in the wild, hopefully at the airport or maybe at a kid's gymnastic meet, and they're reading one of my books and they are weeping, I promise you, those are happy tears.